For the past 3 years, I have tried fasting for Ramadan, and all I have learned is that my body is a little bitch.
Arriving at Retrospect. Retrospect Station. Doors will open on the left.
Welcome, all you lovely passengers, to the brand spanking newly built Retrospect Station. This is a show where I show you just how colorful life can be. I'm your host, Elizabeth Dean, and I'm excited to get into this. Oh my goodness, I have wanted to have a show for the longest while. And I truly mean the longest while, since I'm going to say October, November 2016. Almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago, I wanted my own show where I just chattered about stuff and said whatever I felt like, but I had this perception that it had to be something formal at the time. And it was mainly because back in that era, I was watching a lot of John Oliver, and I really wanted my own kind of talk show. And that was the era, too, where the people who were popular on YouTube, online, were I follow John Oliver, but then there were all these other emerging online media outlets, oh God, what's that one? It's not Rebel News, that's that weird right-wing thing, and it's not Wired, I don't think. There was another one where people just didn't like them because they were kind of, how should I say, they were overly dramatic and they always had something negative to say. But I used to follow a lot of John Oliver. I know Keemstar was kind of really the big thing at that point. And I didn't like him, but he was a big thing. And then there was the Young Turks was just getting started around that time. And so there were all these little online media outlet-y kind of people. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to say. And I thought at first I was going to say something nonfiction, politically charged maybe, commentary on what I was seeing around me in the world. And I settled on doing a documentary style. It was in the style of John Oliver, where I would pick something to talk about and I would be informative about it. And I had a whole thing. I did it. I wrote out a whole script for the first episode. I recorded a first episode in my the dining room of the residence house thing that I was living in. I filmed it and everything, this same camera and everything, and it was about foods from around the world. One of them was from Ukraine. One of them, I interviewed a friend of mine to get her answers about food in Ukraine because she had just exchanged as a student in Ukraine. And so I had this entire episode with a whole segment about borscht. And it never saw the light of day. It never ended up on any platforms anywhere. One day, maybe it might. Maybe you might see me launch that show too. Maybe I might go back to committing to it. But one of the reasons I didn't was it was so difficult to do just the one episode. And to research a brand new episode and talk about a brand new thing. And I wanted it to be about some silly stuff too. And I had stories. And I didn't really know where to go from there. I felt like I was pigeonholing myself into doing something nonfiction. But serious. And I had this perception that I had to look all proper on camera and have myself at a desk and everything. And podcasts were not the most, how shall I say? Podcasts were not the most engaged form of media back then. Now lots of people listen to podcasts, and everyone's got their own podcast. But back then, people just kind of went on YouTube and listened to stuff. And I know there were some popular podcasts that were kicking off, but this form wasn't really the height of the art style yet. So I didn't really look to see if I could do something casual. And it was a hell of a lot of work to get one episode off the ground. And you guys are about to see 5 episodes in a row, once a week, every Wednesday. And you can find it wherever you find podcasts, hopefully. If anyone cannot find this podcast, if I don't know how you'd be hearing me say this on my podcast, but I mean, if you want to see, I guess that's how I should say it. If you feel like this should be on a platform it's not on, tell me. I would love to put it as many places as possible. But yeah, welcome. I've got a show. And it's in the same vein of, I'm not going to talk about borscht. I'm not going to talk about borscht. Don't worry. But I am going to talk about that time period of my life and other time periods of my life. I've lived a long and short life. 27 years is not really that long of a time. And at the same time, it is a long time. 27 years of just time in general is a long time. Lots can change in 27 years. It's nearly 30. I'm coming up in 3 decades. And if you round up, and that's a fair amount of time. It was my parents came to Canada around that age. And so much has changed since when they did that to now. And I wasn't born then. I was born a while after that. And it's so much has changed from that period. We have the internet now. When my parents came to Canada, the internet didn't exist. It did, but it was a government form of things. And now here I am talking to you over this brand new invention called the internet. It's not brand new anymore. But that's my point. Lots can change in 27 years. So, yeah, I also want to say if you're listening to this podcast on an audio platform and you'd love to see video, I'm assuming you might not be on Spotify listening or you might not be on YouTube listening, which is fine. No judgment. But if you want to see my pretty face and the bags under my eyes, then you, by all means, go to Spotify or YouTube. YouTube will obviously be free. There might be an ad on it. Spotify, that's up to you. But yeah, if you want to see the lovely bags and bedraggledness in my face under my eyes, then by all means, go look for the video edition. It is so exhausting getting 5 episodes of a podcast plus the entire show brand new for the first time launched. And I'm happy. I'm excited for what's coming. There's some serious episodes. There's some very weird things that have happened to me. There's some funny stuff too. And if you just want to hear the madness that has gone on in one woman's life, one Mississauga-raised, Ottawa-educated woman's life, you've come to the right place. So today, this week, it's Eid. And I want to just say Eid Mubarak to everybody who has observed it or follows it or believes, who were fasted, who followed Ramadan, who didn't follow Ramadan but wish they could follow Ramadan, whatever. Eid Mubarak to you all. I'm not Muslim. I was raised Christian, and then I have my own personal beliefs now that are none of that. But my best friend is Muslim, and her family's Muslim. And I grew up around a lot of Muslim students, kids, families, people, all my life. And I never understood what it was like following Ramadan. There was this one classmate I had who bullied me half to death for most of my schooling. But he was Muslim, and I think he was the only child in my class who was Muslim. I think the others were Hindu, Christian, Sikh, so on. So he would be the only one in my class following Ramadan. So everyone would eat at lunch, snacks at recess, whatever. He would not be eating. And I always used to observe this with a kind of fascination because I'd never really seen this done before. My mom has. My mom grew up around Muslim people. My dad grew up around Muslim people. But I did not grow up Muslim. And having been raised Christian as a child, I didn't observe this often. I'm just going to adjust in my chair real quick. And I was so fascinated. I wanted to know. I wanted to know so badly what it was like. And I wanted to know what my friend was experiencing too. Because she wouldn't eat. And I was like, what must it be like to basically not eat for 14 hours and want to eat for 14 hours and see people eating around you for... I mean, in Muslim countries, I believe there's regulations about eating in public during Ramadan because pretty much everyone's fasting and it's kind of disrespectful and hard for those people to follow through. But here, because it's not the cultural norm, people eat and drink. And I was like, what must that be like? And also in reading up on fasting, on Ramadan, and it being like, now as an adult, it being that era where people are like, follow this new fad diet where you fast and you do this thing and you fast and you do that thing and the this many day fast and the on and off diet, whatever names they have for them. It's good for your health. It does this to your body. I was like, well, let me try it. Truly, let me try following Ramadan for my health. It must be good because I'm going to be basically missing one of the meals. I'm not going to have lunch. And, excuse me, I'm likely going to end up eating healthier food because I need to sustain myself. Or I thought. So I tried it. In 2022 was the first time I tried following Ramadan. And so I've done it for 3 years in a row now. I'm not saying I've done it successfully. That's the point of this story. But so I just finished Ramadan this year. And I have to say, this year was not a good Ramadan. This is like the second... This one takes second place. Last year takes first place. And the first year takes third place, last place, out of my capabilities for following Ramadan. And so I'll get to that. So this year, I tried my best. I truly tried my best. I've been recently very tired, like sleepy tired. And I can trace what it's probably for. Don't worry about it. But the result was that when I started Ramadan, I didn't know that it was starting. I was leaving a job at the exact same time. So my last day at my job was the first day of Ramadan, and I didn't know that. Well, no, my last day on my resignation letter was the first day of Ramadan, and I didn't know. So I went to sleep because I didn't have to work that day, given like how my phasing out worked. And so I just passed out cold in my bed and slept. And you're going to hear a story about this later, but this is also the same time that the Ontario provincial election took place. And I worked at that. And that's another episode. You'll hear about that. But I was exhausted from that as well. So I just passed out cold and went to sleep. And I woke up in the middle of the day on the first day of Ramadan saying to myself all this time before, I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow it this year too. And then I got up and got food and everything, and I went into my phone. I don't wake up and look at my phone right away. I wake up and then do other things and then look at my phone. And I looked at my phone. I'm like, oh, shoot. Oh, it's Ramadan. Oh, I've had like half a meal in my belly already. All right, I start tomorrow. Maybe I'll make this day up afterwards because that's what you're supposed to do. I'll get to why that's not happening. So I started following through and I was doing decently well. The only problem was you're not supposed to sleep during your fast. I was sleeping, and that was because my sleep schedule was all sorts of messed up after leaving my job, working at the election, being generally just very, very stress-induced tiredness. And kind of recovering that, I was sleeping a lot. And so I was mainly sleeping through a lot of the days of my fast, which that's not the intention. The intention is for you to be awake and fasting. So I was kind of trying my best to get out of that. And I know I caved on one of the days because I'll get into this now. There's reasons for why I can't follow. And this might be the last year that I follow it. I don't think I might follow it in 2026. And only reason is I don't think my body is cut out for it. As I said earlier, the only thing I learned from these 3 years of experience of this is that my body is a little bitch. And I'm going to elaborate. This year, my fast was basically not possible for most of the month because either I was too sleepy, and so I fasted and I slept, and that doesn't really count, or I broke fast and just ate during the day. And mainly it was when I was working. Like, as I said, it's really hard to get a show off the ground. I thought it would be easier to get the show off the ground and harder to maintain it. And no, it's just hard. And I've learned that I get very hungry when I'm using my brain. And I won't get into it now, but I know the reason for that now. And so I have to eat. If I'm going to do not even physical work, if I'm going to do a lot of mental work, I have to eat food. So the days in this year of Ramadan when I broke fast, it was because I couldn't function, I couldn't focus. I would just sit there and my brain would fog out and I could not think. So that's what happened this year. I won't get into the fast of this year because it was a pretty mundane thing. And then I started my period towards the last week of Ramadan, which you're not really meant to fast during that. So I didn't. And I've got like 3 days left after the end of said period. So I'm not going to fast in those last 3 days at the end of Ramadan. I didn't. I just kind of stopped Ramadan once I got my period because there wasn't going to be a lot of time at the end of it, and I was going to be launching this podcast and everything, and that requires a lot of mental attention, strain, effort, and I knew I wasn't going to get very far with it. So that's this year. Last year was really good, actually. Last year, I think I followed Ramadan almost as closely as I possibly could have, and it worked really well. And part of it I credit to my, at the time, partner. 2024 was an excellent year. I think I said 2022 earlier about when I first did fasting. It was 2023. I've lost an entire year in my brain. But 2024 was just a peak year in my history. I got a partner. I had a partner. I got a pretty reasonable job that wasn't difficult, was stable, was pretty good. I saw my best friend a lot more often than I used to. I was healthy. I was eating much healthier. My skin was good. I partied a bit. Like, everything was peachy. And so was Ramadan. Ramadan went really well for me. I asked he's my ex-partner now, but I asked him what his remembrance of Ramadan was for him, because I couldn't really remember anything notable, and that's because there was not really much notable. According to him, I followed it really well. I woke up every day right before dawn. Not right before, but kind of. Quickly got some food in me, drank a bunch of water and tea, which he would make. I just want to point out his sweetness. What an amazing human being who, unquestioningly just decided to help me follow this. I would stay over at his place often, and so during that month, he'd wake up with me and go downstairs and make me sandwich. Hamich. It was always a ham sandwich, which I suppose is not really in line with the way that Muslims eat. Obviously, you can't eat ham because it's haram, but the only thing I was doing was the fasting. That was it. I was not turning into a good little Muslim. It's not in my belief set. It's not my personal beliefs. But I wanted to attempt just the action of the fast. And he'd make me hamich, ham sandwich, and a cup of tea and a cup of water. And I would, while he was making the sandwich, I would be munching on the Triscuit crackers in his room, and then I'd be kind of full. Be good. And then I'd go throughout the day. I go to work in the afternoon. And then as soon as sunset was on, I was like, yes, food. And I ate so much Subway that month, I think, because there was a Subway right next door, and I was always hungry, desperately hungry at the end. And I get it. I get that now. I knew it in theory. I didn't know it in practice. Now I know it in practice that that longing for food. It's not like a desperate feral hunger, but it's a longing that once you've put the food in your mouth after the sun's gone down, you are truly actually thankful for the ability to eat food. You're truly thankful for the availability of food. Like, it made me appreciate that we have the capacity to have food, you know? So I think he said I only broke fast like twice. And one of them was like, I had to. It wasn't even that I broke the fast. It was that I just started it a handful of time too late. Like, I woke up and I was still eating the food or drinking the food at sunrise. So like 10, 15 minutes after sunrise, which you're not supposed to. That's not the practice. But I did it because I know I'm that person that if I don't eat, I don't function. This is kind of like a family thing. If we don't eat, we don't function. I don't know what it is, but it is what it is. So I was like, no, I do need to have at least something in my body if I'm going to go this long without food. So I think that only happened once or twice, according to him, that I needed to eat past sunrise. But then I still ended up following through. And I think those days where I ate a little bit past sunrise, I would sorry, I'm getting sick. I would postpone as well breaking my fast so that the amount of time I was fasting was still the same amount of time. And then there were, like, notably, the only time that I actually straight up did not follow the fast was, I think, the last 3 days of Ramadan last year, 2024, because I had gone to Niagara to see the total solar eclipse. And I wanted to, and then I didn't fast because I felt like, like it was in contravention of the whole trip that we had planned and being able to eat different places and see different things and experience Niagara for quite a bit of money paid. And if I didn't eat, or if we were operating off of me being able to or not being able to eat, then it wasn't like, it didn't feel like a good use of that. So we didn't, which was a lovely trip. Maybe I'll get into that in a different episode too. But, and also my birthday was that weekend, or on the Monday, or Sunday or whatever it was, on April 7th. And so I'm not going to fast on my birthday because he wanted to, we wanted to celebrate. He wanted me to go out for food and whatever. And he was ready to respect it. If I was like, no, I'm not going to eat, he would be like, all right, cool. But I was like, no, I don't, not for this. Because I'm not, again, this is not my religion. If it was my religion and I believed that there was another spiritual aspect to it for myself, then. But I was attempting just the action for the sake of knowing what that's like. So that, and then I think I didn't even break my fast for my period last year, I think. I just went straight through, which was miserable, but I think it was just, part of me was like, I don't need to. I don't feel the need to stop, and I was enjoying following this. I was enjoying the discipline of it. So I just stuck with it. But this episode is not meant at all to be about those 2 years. Those 2 years were the easy years. What wasn't the easy year was the first one. Attention all passengers. We interrupt this story to bring you a special segment. Literacy is pretty atrocious these days for reasons outside of our control at this point. And so I thought, what better way to help that than to bring you a special segment called Word of the Week. I love writing, and I regularly write with colorful vocabulary, and I have done so for many years. I am a huge reader. And in the age of AI, people have started saying things like using the word, I don't even remember what word it was, using big words means that something you did was written by AI. And that does not mean something was written by AI. Y'all need literacy. So I thought I'd help. And so what we're going to do is every week you get a brand new word. And it's not going to be an easy word. It's going to be a weird or complicating kind of sound of word. And but we're going to start simple this week. And we're going to go say that our word of the week is retrospect. Like the name of the podcast. Retrospect. Retrospect is spelled RETROSPECT. Retrospect. And Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines retrospect as a review of or meditation on past events. That is, to basically look backwards. The word is built like that. Retro means past. Spect comes from the Latin word of seeing. So we're going to look into the past, which is kind of fitting for what the podcast is. I'm looking back into my past. And an example sentence with retrospect would be, once upon a time, I thought that I didn't have anything important to say. But in retrospect, it turns out I have so many stories to tell. Retrospect, everybody. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Good old 2023. Okay. Here's the sitch. I started Ramadan for the first time. My best friend was going to do it, and I'm like, I'm doing it too. I'm doing it. I'm joining you. And she's like, okay, cool. And I was asking her questions. I was like, what's good food to eat for? She's like, girl, just eat normal breakfast. And I was overzealous. And I tried my best to like cook things that would be super filling and really good for breakfast. And that did not happen. It was so difficult to stick to that. For the first 9 days, 6 days of Ramadan, I stuck to it. And then you're going to hear me turn a page because I have notes. I have notes on the order that all of this nonsense happened. Let's go. I started Ramadan on March 22nd. I kept missing sunrise. That was one of the things I kept doing. I'm not good at waking up early. I'm horrible at waking up early. And so I kept missing sunrise. And that meant I wouldn't eat. I was being extremely strict, so I wouldn't eat. And then I'd be hungry, and then I'd be tired, and then I would be miserable and all of that. So I tried. And I said for the first 6 days, I'm wrong. For the first 3 days, I managed to pull off Ramadan. And then on March 25th, I had a period. And I was like, well, I'm not going to fast during my period because I've never done this before. I know you're not meant to. And to be fair, I think I tried doing it for the first couple days, and then it was so difficult. I was so tired and drained. I was like, I can't do this. I can't fast during my period. I'm not going to do this. Let me just go, I'll stick to it. I just quit the fast for the remainder of my period, and then I'll go back to it. So I did that. I quit for my cycle, and then I started back. So I have it written here, March 30th, period almost done. March 31st, big birthday party to go to, period ended. So on March 31st, I was in the clear. And I went to the birthday party because I wasn't fasting anyway, so I was fine. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. April 1st, back on it. And I have written here, April 1st to April 3rd, fast, in brackets, good work. So I did manage to pull it off. April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I did it. And I think I had missed sunrise on one of those days or something. And I just didn't eat. I was hard, but I didn't do it. And I kind of gave up trying to do elaborate food and plan elaborately for what I was going to eat. And instead, I just ate normal food. And I was good. I was dealing with it pretty well. And then on April 4th, I had an ear infection. I had to take antibiotics. And the kind of antibiotics I had to take for it, you have to take with food. If you don't take it with food, you will be in the bathroom. You will be extensively nauseous. The instructions themselves say take with food. And it will you'll feel excessively tired, more than it already tires you out. And so I had to take the antibiotics with food. Also, if you're taking medicine, you're not meant to be fasting because you are breaking the fast by putting something in your body. So I didn't fast again for another week. I was working for, at the time I was working for a math learning center in Oakville, and the owners and supervisory staff are Muslim, so they were following it. My friend was following it. I had said to friends of mine that I was following it, and then they're like, "Hey, how's the fast?" I'm like, "I'm not fasting again. I have been I have been by fate put not to fast. Why? I have an ear infection. I have to take antibiotics, and I have to take the antibiotics with food, and I was exhausted from taking these antibiotics. It was like this massive pill that was like, I don't know, put your finger out and it's the first joint of your first finger. That's how big the pill was. It was this, I don't even remember the combination. It was it clarithromycin, amoxicillin or something like that? Oh no, it was cephalexin, amoxicillin pill. It was this enormous thing to deal with my ear infection. And this went on for a week. I think I fasted on some of the days. It says in my notes that I fasted on some of the days. And I stopped on April 7th for my birthday, which was on Good Friday. So let me be very clear. It was a mess from start to finish this first month of Ramadan for me. I stopped for my birthday because we went around town, me and this one person and their friends. We went around town in the afternoon on my birthday, which was Good Friday, where everything closes, to try and get all of the free birthday meals and food and freebies that people give out for your birthday. And I got some stuff. I mean, I got like a Mr. Sub sandwich and stuff, but I know that I broke the fast early, I think is what it was. Or no, I didn't, because I ate something in the store at one of the places, I think. And I just gave, and mind you, that adventure in itself was so difficult to follow through with because I did not recognize just how much stuff closes on Good Friday. We barely got a birthday cake. We didn't get a birthday cake. We got a birthday slice of cake. And I didn't get candles because none of the stores that sold candles were open. We went to this Chinese grocery store and got the most enormous candle. It's this giant red candle. I still have it. We stuck it in the top of this very small slice of cake from Coffee Culture. And happy birthday, blew up the candle, cake. And then back to more antibiotics and again attempt at fasting. And then finally that closed up on April 11th. April 12th, I did fast. But in the evening, I went to this event that was outside in a university grounds, like the quads and stuff. And there was a lot of music, there was a lot of excitement, a lot of noise. And so I was singing with some of the music, I was yelling in order to be heard, for my friend to hear me, all of this stuff. And when I woke up the next day, I had no voice. And I'm like, oh my God, I've lost my voice. How is this going to work out for me? My job requires me to talk. All I do at my job is speak. That's the whole job, because it was teaching math. It was tutoring math to students. And how am I supposed to do that if I can't speak? So how are you supposed to discipline a student who's not listening to you, or as one is your math, and you have to rationalize to them, you have to engage them? How do I do that non-verbally? I can't. So I tried, and I failed, because you can't speak when you don't have a voice. And the way to get back your voice is to drink water. The way to get back your voice when you've damaged it from yelling is to drink water. So I had to break fast and drink water. But I did kind of stick around some of it, in that I only drank water and I didn't eat food. So, I mean, I half-fasted. And then I think that I have in my notes that lasted for almost like 3-4 days because I lost my voice. And then, so I have April 13th to April 15/16. I lost my voice and I drank water. Every time I was ready to start fasting again in this month, I couldn't. I would, in my head, I would say to myself, okay, a couple days, I know I'll be better, and then I'll back to fasting. It's almost back to there. And then a couple days, that couple days would go by, and then I would be on like the last leg, be like, I'm healthy, I'm capable, I can do this. And then the next day I would wake up with another nightmare happening to me. And I did again afterwards. April 15/16 passed, and I woke up with another nightmare happening to me, which is that I got a virus. And that virus makes you lose your voice. Turns out I didn't just lose my voice from yelling. I damaged my vocal cords in such a way that I was capable of contracting a virus of the vocal cord that would affect my that would affect my throat specifically where my vocal cords were. And then I lost my voice for real, and it was going around. There were other people who were losing their voice around me, and then bam, I lost my voice. Again, I just got it back, and then I was hacking and coughing, and I couldn't speak. I'm like, well, I can't fast. I can't. I'm like, I got a low-grade fever. I got to take some Advil. I got to drink water. I got to drink tea. So I was completely incapable of fasting again. At this point, just so that we're clear, it started on March 22nd. We're at April 15/16th. And that's what? March has 31 days. So I'm going to do some quick maths here. 8 and 9, and then 16 makes 25. 25 days of Ramadan, 25 days of Ramadan have passed, and I have fasted for only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want to say about 8 days out of 24 or 25. So I've fasted for a third of Ramadan at this point because I've been sick more than I've been healthy. And then, so it says April 15/16 to April 19th, I got a virus. April 20th was Eid. I just looked down and I saw that. April 20, Eid. So I closed out Ramadan, sick. And the reason I say I got a virus April 15/16 to April 19th is because on April 19th, I was still kind of sick. I didn't fast. And I remember thinking to myself, but tomorrow I can. And then I woke up, and my friend said to me, "It's Eid!" And I'm like, oh my God. You mean to say, when I'm finally healthy, it's done. I can't do it anymore. She's like, yeah. So I had gone the whole month of Ramadan desperately trying to fast, and the fates and the world and the universe went, nope, not happening. You're not getting to do that. And so I went to work. I was like, yay, Eid Mubarak to everyone. I didn't tell them I was fasting, but they were, so I was congratulating them, and then my friends who knew were like, oh my God, you finally made it to the end of it. And I'm like, I didn't really do much, to be quite honest with you. I failed. My body has no antibodies. Send antibodies, please. I need them. And then I wrote this in my notes because I found it funny. That when I was going through text messages and other correspondences between me and friends to figure out what the timeline of this was. In my research, I discovered 4 days after. So I didn't know until this year that Eid is 3 days. I didn't realize that. My friend told me that because I thought it was 1 day, and she was like, "No, girl, it's 3. What do you mean 1 day?" So then Eid would have been April 20th, April 21st, and April 22nd. Well, on April 24th, I have the words written, just for good measure, I got vaccine sick, then real sick. I said antibodies. My God, send antibodies, please. Because I was better, and I remember thinking back then when I was better, I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my God, finally I'm cured." And I was real mad. I was like, I swear, if now I am just purely healthy, I don't get sick from anything else. Now that it's done, I'm so mad because how is that fair? And then whatever was making me sick, whatever God was listening to me, went, nah, girl, I got you. And then I got sick. I think I got it was a tetanus shot. Or it was like a diphtheria tetanus shot, I think, around that time. And then I was like, oh, I feel weak. I feel sick. I feel this. I feel that. I'm whiny. And then I was really sick. And I know this because when I was reading through messages I saw with my mother, I was talking to her and I was like, oh, by the way, Mom, I'm not vaccine sick. I'm real sick. It's actually something. This is not to say this is the first this happened to me. All of that year, I said that 2024 was a perfect year. Yeah, well, 2023 was characterized only by sickness. I was so ill that whole year. I would not have a single resting point of not having a virus of some sort. I had the ear infection. I had another ear infection. I had every respiratory virus that was going around. I caught COVID. I caught the cold. I didn't catch the flu. I caught enteroviruses. I caught COVID. I caught, what was the other one I was thinking of? I caught RSV. I caught, oh my God, I caught so many. This is going to be a story of another time too, by the way. Anticipate, there's many. But yeah, I didn't get a break. I didn't get a moment. The first year I tried Ramadan was single-handedly the worst year for me to try Ramadan, or the worst year of me trying Ramadan. It went so badly. And all me and my friends, all that we learned was that I have a really shit immune system. I think it's been better in recent years, but I mean, good Lord, I had a vaccine and then I still got sick. I didn't get sick from the thing that I was getting vaccinated against, but I still got sick. But yeah, if anyone wants to send me antibodies, by all means, start throwing them my way. Just deliver them to my doorstep, why don't you? But yes, that was me attempting Ramadan for my health, which ironically did not happen. Instead, I attempted Ramadan and was nothing but sick while trying to attempt Ramadan. But yeah, I understand this better now. I get what people experience. I get the kind of hunger that people experience. I get the longing for food. I get the feeling of liking it. Because I did it well one year, and I wanted to do it again this year of my own volition. No one was making me do it. I wasn't for any reason. I just really wanted to because I was like, wow, that felt refreshing, healthy. I liked following the discipline of it. I liked having that characterize the way I related to food. And I mean, maybe in the future, when my health gets better, I might go back to doing it. I think if I was truly healthy enough that I don't get sick all the time, or I can't function unless I eat. I'm not sleepy all the time. I think if that happened, I would definitely go back to it. I get it. I get why this is not just a month of spiritualness and a relationship to God and to oneself. Like, I get that. But I also get why, on a psychological level, on an emotional level, this is such a enjoyed time for Muslims. So once again, Eid Mubarak to everyone who celebrates, worships, observes. But that's the end of this story. I think that's a good first episode. Good lunch. Good beans. That's good soup. How do I even close out something like this? I brainstormed how I was going to close out this episode for weeks, and I still have no idea how I'm going to attempt that or achieve that. But yeah. How do I close out a podcast episode? Let's see. Announcements. Let's rehash them. There's going to be a new episode next week, coming out on Wednesday. That's what I wanted to say. It's National Poetry Month in Canada. I'm going to be at a bunch of poetry events, not hosting them. I'm not featured in anything or like that, but I'm going to be at a bunch of them. My name is Elizabeth Dean. If you see an Elizabeth Dean haunting a poetry space or a writing space somewhere in the city of Mississauga and or Toronto, I am guaranteeing you right now, if you see a short 5'3" brown girl with a lot of attitude haunting a writing or poetry space this month, that's me. If you didn't already know me in person already by my face, that's me. And, I mean, check them out. There's going to be some really cool events. I'm glad that the literary community is strong. Apes strong together. Calling back to that stupid meme. But yes, there's going to be a new episode on Wednesday. And then after that, you're going to see one every single Wednesday. Or hear one for your little ear holes. If you want to find out when the next episode's coming, if you want an update on the next episode dropping, if you want to get little previews or just announcements in general, you can follow on Instagram or on TikTok, whichever is your preferred platform, at Retrospect Station. I had to think about that for a moment. At Retrospect Station. Retrospect is spelled RETROSPECT. And if you want to find me, if you don't know who I am and where I'm from and what my business is about, you can find me at AstroAlex34 on the same two platforms. If you like this, I feel like I like this. I don't know if you like this, but whoever likes this, consider showing it to someone you think would like this. You know, spread it to one other person, just one. And if you want to support the show, if you would like to materialistically support the show, because artists should be paid for their work. I believe in that strongly. Pay poets, pay artists, pay camera people, pay musicians, like buy media. Buy media. That's going to be today's send-off lesson. Buy media. And the lesson that no matter how much you plan for something, it can go wrong. But yes, if you want to support the show materialistically, you can go to, ko-fi.com/retrospect station. So coffee.com/retrospect station, but it's ko-fi. It's not like coffee, the word. It's that. This will probably sound cleaner next week than this week. I'm getting used to this right now, but yeah. So those are the places. At Retrospect Station on Instagram, TikTok. For me, it is at AstroAlex34 on Instagram, TikTok. And if you want to support the show with a donation, if you want to buy me antibodies, coffee.com/retrospect station. And that's all for this week. I will see you next week, my peoples.
A special thanks to the Mississauga Library Makerspace of Hazel McCallion Library. Without their resources, this show would not be possible.